My name is Stephanie Vasco. I'm an interdisciplinary researcher and artist, and I'm based at Michigan State University. I'm here at Hagley Museum and Library to explore the history of Crolyn, DuPont's chromium dioxide magnetic tape venture. As an interdisciplinary researcher and artist, I am very interested in the ways that we can bring to life archival materials through performance. So I'm using magnetic tape and modular synthesis that mimics magnetic tape effects to create a performance based on the history of Crolyn. To do this, what I've done is taken some archival materials, recorded bits and pieces of them, and I'm bringing that text in these recording forms together, manipulating it, and trying to create a performance out of it that makes the history of Crolyn a dynamic experience for the viewer or listener. Now, I've got a few things out here that I'd like to show you. So here I have a modded cassette deck where I can change the speed of the motor. I can either speed it up or slow it down. I've got a long tape loop that comes outside of the cassette tape itself and wraps around the stand and then goes back in. And the tapes that are in both of these are tape loops. There's a short one in here that I've created. There's a long one out here, but they all come from these Maxell cassette tapes that you can get on Amazon. So let's check our connections on the modded deck and give it a try. So you see I just slowed it down. Now I'm speeding it up. And I have these two speeds at different speeds, two potentiometers at different speeds. But I could also slow it down with my finger here. So that's this type of tape loop and cassette hacking piece that we could add to our performance. And shout out to Dogbotic, whose cassette hacking workshop is where I learned to do this kind of work. So what about our long loop? Our short loop pulled a piece that we'll hear again in the modular synthesis performance on magnetic tape being the future. But here I've recorded just reading some properties of chromium dioxide particles onto this long loop. So let's go ahead and see if we can get it to play. Let's make sure our volume is cranked up too. And you can see that we have a big tape loop going on here. And I might bring you over a little bit so that you can see it moving around the stand. And we'll see the splice. The splices are right here as it comes through. Maybe we'll get a better angle on it as it comes back out. So yeah, our splice is right here. And you can tell this cassette deck, I've removed the erase head from. So as I read, it's continuously recording in layers, putting those properties of chromium dioxide on top of each other as I read it. So creating really a layered and textured tape recording. So now I'm going to bring you over to VCV Rack. And here I've created a very, for me, large patch. And I'm going to put this patch online by itself as well, but I'm going to bring it much further into the screen. We'll go ahead and we'll move everything else. And I'm also going to move as well. But here, we'll go ahead and start playing our patch.
Important role in both our business and personal lives. There is little doubt that in the future, magnetic tape will play an increasingly important role in both our business and personal lives. There is little doubt that in the future, magnetic tape, chromium dioxide Pont Company announced today it will manufacture and market new high-performance magnetic recording tapes, incorporating chromium dioxide as the magnetic medium. Chromium dioxides were developed as part of an extensive research program in magnetic materials and magnetism. There is little doubt that circular single-domain particles. Chromium dioxide is a black semiconducting compound with a density of 4 black semiconducting compounds, circular single-domain particles, which can be varied in length from 4 to 400 microinches. Within black semiconducting compound with a density black semiconducting compound, 0.9 grams per cubic centimeter, 0.9 grams per cubic centimeter, 0.9 grams per grams per cubic 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 grams per. Risks have risen and potential rewards have fallen to a point where a change in strategy is indicated. The current unsatisfactory status and immediate prospects of the chromium dioxide tape venture are cause for concern. Chromium dioxide over iron oxide. 3. Opposition of hardware manufacturers to utilization of Crolyn. We conclude our failure is due primarily to 3 factors. 1. Poor management of the venture. 2. Excessive optimism concerning the practical value of chromium dioxide over iron oxide. 3. Opposition of hardware manufacturers to utilization of Crolyn. Until recently, the audio market was given limited attention since it had served historically as an outlet for off-grade instrumentation tape. DuPont has not yet produced tape of a quality meeting Phillips's requirements, but this should be possible in early 1969. The miniature tape cassette system was developed by Phillips, but is open to all. In the interest of standardization and market development, Phillips has granted free licenses to an estimated 50 audio equipment makers. Manufacture and sale of cassettes is being aggressively pursued worldwide. DuPont has not yet produced high-fidelity pre-recorded cassettes. In audio, there are no current users, although Phillips and Ampex believe there will be a limited market in high-fidelity pre-recorded cassettes. Risks have risen and potential rewards have fallen to a point where a change in strategy is although Phillips and Ampex the current unsatisfactory status and risks have risen and potential rewards have fallen to a point where a change until recently the audio market was given limited attention. The current unsatisfactory status and potential rewards have fallen to a point where a change in strategy until recently the. There is little doubt that in the future, magnetic tape will play an increasingly important role in both our business and personal lives. And calls for high performance. There is little call on DuPont chromium dioxide magnetic crystals. Because your tape application calls for high performance, call on DuPont chromium dioxide magnetic crystals. Because this is the second movement in the chromium dioxide. There is little doubt that high-fidelity audio recording may not have been possible without chromium dioxide. The DuPont tape is Crolyn 2 magnetic tape with chromium dioxide. This is the second movement in the chromium dioxide story, and it promises as much musical impact as the first movement when it premiered a dozen years ago. When DuPont introduced chromium dioxide magnetic crystals in 1965, it revolutionized the magnetic recording industry. The level of performance never before possible was now easily achievable with chromium dioxide. More than 25 years later, chromium dioxide still provides higher and higher performance levels for audio, video, and data tape applications. First movement when it premiered a dozen years ago. The birth of high-fidelity audio magnetic crystals. The DuPont tape is Crolyn 2 magnetic tape with chromium dioxide. This is the second level of birth of high-fidelity audio when it promises birth magnetic resistant tape because it's to last. It was developed found in audio. There is a little current out that although the developed and current inch planning and radio station there is little current data get the in the Phillips and magnetic tape so they play an increase. There is little doubt that in the magnetic tape says in audio license there are to an estimated with a audio 4.9 gram lecture and market. The DuPont company has have and protect boards of magnetic crystals. Because your tape application calls for high performance, call on DuPont chromium dioxide magnetic crystals. High performance because your tape application calls for high performance, call on DuPont chromium dioxide magnetic crystals. Because your tape application calls for high performance, call on DuPont chromium dioxide magnetic crystals. Semiconducting compound with a density because your tape application calls for high performance. There is little doubt that in the chromium dioxide magnetic tape play an increasingly important role in both our business because your tape application calls for high performance. Call on DuPont. There is little doubt that in the future magnetic tape play there is little doubt that in the future magnetic tape there is little doubt that in the future magnetic tape will play an increasingly important role in both our business and because your tape application calls for high performance, call on DuPont chromium dioxide magnetic crystals. Small lives. Because your tape application. There is little doubt that in the future magnetic tape will play an increasingly important role in both our business and personal lives.
So that's just one way that we could use recordings of the different materials on Crolyn that are present in the archives to create a performance that has movement, that talks about the history of Crolyn. What we see, or what I found in the archival materials, is that you see in the late 60s some worry about the chromium dioxide tape venture. But as you look kind of at there's a nice and interesting trade catalog from I think 1994 that talks about how in the last few years there's been a 25-year history of the chromium dioxide particles. So it's very interesting to take those materials and try and tell a story in an audio fashion, and to use these tactile materials, these big tape loops, these modded cassette tapes, VCV rack, especially these NIST modules that are in here. I'm specifically using Simpliciter, the Simple Tape Control, Jira Echo, and a lot of complex, simpler apps as well. And using those to really create cool and interesting movement and depth in the tape. So for example, this Simple Tape Loop Control one up here allows me to control the amount of wow that's present. I can flip between what direction the sound is playing. These Jira Echoes have tape heads that I can activate, change the speed of, enable an erase head, or allow it to play on top of each other. So you really do get this option to play with magnetic tape and history through using these tactile means and materials. And I hope that this has given you a lot to think about. I hope that it makes you want to go out and think about how to use archival materials to create performances as well. And I'm looking forward to creating some additional performances based on the materials that I've been working with here at the Hagley Museum and Library. I would like to express my gratitude for receiving an Exploratory Research Grant that's allowed me to come out and perform this work and take a look at the archival materials for the last week. So thank you to Hagley for the opportunity to be performing this work. And I look forward to future work, both with Hagley and with my fellow tape and modular synthesis and archival material enthusiasts.